Big Sky Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
That one video that I did a breakdown of that Bigfoot wood knocking, that was just amazing. And unless someone else can provide a link or whatever, I believe that Duke and his fellow investigator have captured the first most clear footage of a Bigfoot in the act of wood knocking. They walk off, and the last guy trailing behind with his camera, all of a sudden there's this big old wood knock, and he actually has the camera aimed in the direction of the Bigfoot that did the knock, and he captures it accidentally, and you see the Bigfoot moving around, and then whap, and then right after the Bigfoot hits the tree with its club or whatever it's using, it kind of ducks down a little bit to look through a window of opening of the foliage in the trees and looks at those guys, and you get a perfect view of its face and head and everything, and it looks like it had to kind of duck down to look, and then
Yeah.
it's probably like, oh crap, I don't think it knew that who was it that filmed it.
Eric.
I don't think they knew that Eric was there. I think that Bigfoot thought that the whole group was off 100 yards further when it did the wood knock, and then it looks, and I'm pretty sure it was like, oh shit, because it only looked for a second or two, and then it goes back into cover. So yeah, you guys, that is awesome. You guys captured a Bigfoot in the act of wood knocking. There is no question in my mind any longer that Bigfoot wood knocks. It does. It did. It got caught on video doing it.
Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. I am taking a close look at Bigfoot captured on video in a part of Montana with a lot of Bigfoot sightings. Some are very aggressive too. I first saw the video on World Bigfoot TV about a year ago. The video title is A Closer Look, Real Sasquatch Caught on Video Ducks for Cover. Duke from World Bigfoot TV reached out to me and asked if I would enlarge and zoom the section where the Bigfoot was captured to use for his presentation at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. This part of the clip, there are at least 3 different subjects or creatures in the cover watching Duke, Eric, and their expedition group. I won't point them all out to you. You can see if you can identify them yourself. What I want to show you is the money shot. What appears to be the largest of the 3 looks directly at Eric through an opening in the thick brush after doing a wood knock. You should watch the full video. I will link it in the description. The expedition group is investigating a large suspect Bigfoot structure complex. As the group walks off, this large Bigfoot wood knocks, then looks directly at Eric. You see a lot of movement, but right after it knocks, it looks right through a window of clearing, and briefly you get to see most of its domed head, eyes, massive brown ridge, and nose. What an amazing capture on video of a giant Montana Bigfoot. This Bigfoot appears to be grayish black in color, just like the one my son and I saw in Bear Wallow of the Uinta Mountains after tracking it for several hours. We saw it briefly while it was running through a small gap in the trees. It was the same color as this one. This is an amazing capture by Duke's group of a Bigfoot on camera. Hope you enjoyed. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.
I know we haven't been able to prove it yet with video that they make tree structures, but we keep going back, you and me both, Kelly, keep going back to where these huge structures are. And what do we usually find every time we're there? Bigfoot tracks. So if they ain't the ones building the damn things, they sure visit them a lot.
There's two different structures that's on our GPS map overlay that we visit annually. One at the 77 sighting location in Sasquatch Canyon, and then the other one up near Hell's Canyon in Yellowstone Canyon at the Uintas. We have witnessed where a log's been added to both of those structures. You show up and it's like, hey, there's another log. And then close by, you see where the deadfall used to lay, the impression in the ground of where it's laying matches up perfectly. And there's a lot of people that's like, oh, those are caused by windfall, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm telling you right now, the wind didn't pick up that 300-pound log off the ground and shove it up into that host tree with the rest of the structure formation. Somebody lifted that up. And just the other day, Jenny and I was watching those do-it-yourself channels where it was the Maine Cabin Masters. Maine Cabin Masters took a 6x6, excuse me. It was an 8x8 beam that they had to put up on the second level. And it took 6 guys that are seasoned construction guys, took 6 of them to struggle and muscle to get it up to that second level and then struggle to get it into place. And I'm like, that's not even as big as some of those logs. So,
Yeah.
For the wind to pick that up off the ground and shove it up in the tree, bullshit. Someone did it, and I doubt it was 6 tough, seasoned construction workers. It was probably a big 9-foot, 800-pound alpha male Sasquatch that wants to show off to his rivals, wants to show off to the females how tough he is because he can build these structures.
Yep. And we documented the same kind of thing where we had found that 6-story tall X structure. So we started going back there and visiting it. And then after about a year and a half, they deconstructed it. They took it down. The center ridge that everything was laying on was still there. All the trees that had been leaning against it were now all laying in a pile. So we went, okay, that's kind of weird. Let's go down the ridge here to the base of this really steep gully. Okay, well, there's not going to be a whole lot of wind going through. It's down in a gully. And we went down there and took a look, and there had been previously a smaller X down there. And now after they took down the big X, that smaller X, they started turning it into a teepee. A really big one. Some of these trees are 1.5 2 feet diameter that they're shoving over from every angle and then putting cross pieces and stuff through it. So we started going down there and filming that every time we were out there to compare it to the previous video to see if there's anything new. And we had a couple of people go, well, that might be natural. Well, why do these trees keep falling over from different angles onto this? And then other trees keep getting put through there. And as far as I'm concerned, the cherry on top of the cake was when after about a year and a half, we went back there and there was a 40-foot tall pine tree that was about maybe 20 feet from where the center of the structure was. And it was standing straight up. We got that on video. Then we come back there and the top of the tree is bent and it's under and inside of the teepee. Well, how in the hell does that happen? It's still like that.
Yep, I think they're territorial structures. That's my opinion on the whole thing. I heard a theory, that's what I'm going to call it. There's some Pacific Northwest native tribes, Indian tribes, that claim that some of these teepee structures, the Bigfoot put as many logs in them as there are members in the family or clan. So the two different structures that we have found that are separated by 30 miles that they added a log to, perhaps they welcomed in a baby into the family is why they added the log, if that theory is true.
Could be. I mean, one thing we've found quite a few times is I'm not sure if the teepees mark that or not, but I'd lean toward the asterisk structures marking it, because that's a bunch of people in different areas have noticed that. They're relatively uncommon. It seems like you'll only find, like 1 or 2 in any given area. compared to like teepees or X structures or snaps or anything. They're all over the place. And that may be what's going on there, where they've got a log in it for each member of the clan, family, little group, whatever, that are living there. Because if you watch those, the same thing will happen. Sometimes one will disappear, and other times other ones will get added into it.
Well, we saw in Bear Wallow where a really big, nice structure got destroyed. I was wondering, was that a challenge to the alpha male in the area?
Yeah.
And something else, that's the same area we found the stinky 2 large wads of hair along a trackway. We even cast one of the tracks in the trackway. We're wondering, it looked like a pretty violent event that removed that hair from the subject.
Yeah.
So was it a mating thing? I don't know. Maybe that was kind of too violent for a mating thing. Maybe it was somebody getting in a scuffle with the alpha male trying to take his territory. The reason why I'm going out on a limb with that scenario is because we saw where one of these large teepee structures got destroyed, and perhaps that year we were kind of witnessing a challenge. That hair ripped out was part of it. And that hair looked like it was from an old individual. There was a lot of grays and whites in the hair. I mean, there was every color of the rainbow, black, brown, reddish, some blondes in there, but there was also a lot of gray and white. So perhaps the old male in there was getting challenged by a younger one, and he ripped a couple of big old wads out.
Could well be.
We come along and collected that stinky hair.
And it's not so stinky anymore because it got older now. But Kelly still has that. And for any Suklu, Sasquatch, or skunk apes that are listening to the show right now, he's trying to get enough hair to stuff a pillow with it. So if you got extra wads of hair lying around, have your human friends mail him into Kelly, and he's going to get enough to make a pillow.
That's disgusting, man. Yeah, if you guys could have smelled this stuff when we collected it stunk for months. Musky, stinky. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, one of my grandkids, Lyle. Yeah, about a year ago, he was over here visiting me, and he's like, "Hey, Grandpa, do you got any more of that stinky Bigfoot hair?" I'm like, "Yeah, I still have it." He's like, "Can I check it out?" Yeah, I have a huge sample that I retained clinically. We don't touch with bare hands, blah, blah, blah. We don't touch it at all. It stays in the bag. But I also have a large, there was so much of it. I also have a large wad that we manhandle. So that's the stuff that I like to show off. Yeah. And that kid's rubbing it on his face. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's gross." He's like, "I just wanted to see what Bigfoot hair feels like." It's like, "Not on your face."
So again, even though he did get a big wad of it, still doesn't have enough to stuff a pillow. So all you skunk apes and Sasquatch out there, pitch in, send Kelly some more hair wads so he can stuff a pillow.
Would you like me to go grab that wad that I can manhandle? Would you guys?
Yeah,
like
if you want to. Sure.
All right. I'll be right back.
Awesome hair sample.
All right. It took me a second to find. It wasn't where I usually keep it. I was starting to trip out. I'm like, did the men in black visit me? Have I become a Todd Standing victim where they take my Bigfoot hair?
My God. See, that's just the Canadians don't have enough Bigfoot hair samples. That's why they have
trying to get it in the light. Now, I tell you guys.
You can see that. It's kind of brindle looking. It's like black, and there's some brown, and there's a bunch of gray in it, and white. And
on the ground when we collected it, it looked like a grayish blue. I mean, you can see that there's mostly black in it, but there's a lot of whites, grays, blondes. Let me get to this other. I don't want any of this on my falling out of the bag. Check out this side.
Nice.
I mean, there's every color of the rainbow in there, and these were 2 giant wads, and it looked like a violent act of getting torn out. They were separated by about 8 feet. The bottoms of these logs, these didn't grow here. These were relocated and placed. But we call these teepee style territorial structures.
This is one of my favorite structures on our map overlay project. It's just so delicately balanced. There's one at Bear Wallow that's bigger than this, that's balanced the same way. But look at that, there's no ropes or anything holding it together. There's a branch with it's a hook in it. Heard that vocalization behind us again, Brody. I don't know if you viewers can see it, but I thought it was 16.5 inches, but it looks more like a 17-inch footprint that we just found within about 100 yards of a bedding spot, a territorial structure, and spring. That's definitely a larger footprint than any one of us have. I just think it's insane crazy if someone's running around back here barefoot. So we might be on the Squatches again today. Just a few hundred yards after we found the footprints, we found this big old tuft of hair. We don't know what it is, if it's moose or bear or whatever, but we're gonna collect it. We found some more. Well, we might as well collect them both. Yeah, we found a 17-inch footprint. If that happens to be Bigfoot, maybe it's a 17-incher. Maybe he's an old one with gray running through him. I don't know. The alpha male up here is pretty damn raunchy. Look, there's more hair.
It's gray too.
There's so much gray through it. That's weird. I've never seen a moose with gray hair, and it just doesn't ever seem that texture. And this time of year, moose have short hair. That moose that we just saw had short hair.
Holy hell. It looked like something scalped.
Well, we're not sure if this is Bigfoot hair. If we can find an expert to analyze it for us. We've been seeing the juveniles tracks up here the last 3 weeks. 11 inches long. We think we just found the female. Last week we found the male 17 inches, and I believe this is the female. This is a good 15-inch footprint. You can really see the big toe on the one side. We've been looking for the mamas up here because I'm pretty sure the 17 inchers the male, and so we've been wondering where she's at, but yeah, we found a pretty decent one. And there's another one further up that Brody found. After finding the hair, we measured last night. I didn't bring my tape down. All of our backpacking and cleaning up our backpacking camp and stuff. This is a 15-inch long, and at the widest it's about 6 inches long footprint. We believe it's the female. The 11-inch footprint led to it. So we casted this last night, and we're back down here this morning collecting it.
So I don't know what happened, if it was a mating thing or if a couple of rival males were fighting. And the only reason why we think it belongs to Bigfoot is because it was along a trackway where we actually cast one of the tracks.
Yeah, so it's likely. And that doesn't look like any other kind of animal hair that I can place just by looking at it.
It was a lucky circumstance. Brody, he's our biologist. He was actually working on his biology and was taking a class at Weber State. And so he took some samples of the hair. He took into the university, measured the width, and started through their database, or actually their physical samples of North America mammals that they had there. He started doing some comparisons, wasn't able to make a match with anything. The very first thing that we suspected is maybe a mane or a tail of a horse.
Yeah.
So the width of this hair does not match up with any known width of any horse mane or tail. So we were able to rule that out right away. Doesn't match up with moose or bear or anything. What it has been since 2014. No, it was 2013 that we found this. So it's 11 years and we still haven't been able to find a match.
There you go. Well, I had a friend that actually started out the channel with me many years ago that was in northern Minnesota, Grant. And, well, he was poking around up there. He found a big wad out in the woods, too, that looked very similar to what you have, except it was like brown. And it was, reddish brown and really long hair again, does not match to any normal animal in northern Minnesota. And they did the same thing. They looked at it under a microscope and everything, and they're like, yeah, we don't know. There isn't any place around here near here where there's any horses. This is, these are in the swamps in northern Minnesota. So what left that hair?
Brought it up to his professor, after a week of them not being able to find a match. He's like, well, sounds like you guys need to reach out to experts in the field. So we took generous 100 strand samples and we sent them to 3 different laboratories: Oxford, Idaho State, Museum of Cryptozoology, and then of course Weber State. So our hair has been through 4 labs. Nobody's been able to tell us what it belongs to. And as a matter of fact, it has little to no medulla. The inside shaft of the hair is where the proteins are, and it's called medulla. And a lot of people think when you have the hair analyzed for DNA that it's the root. That's not where it comes from. What they do is they destroy the hair to get at the medulla so that they can test it for DNA. Talking to an expert, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a PhD. I cornered him at a Bigfoot conference because he had had my hair for a year and wouldn't respond about it or anything, just ignored me. So at a Bigfoot conference, I cornered him. He's like, what's going on with that hair, blah, 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 blah. And then he started telling me about the medulla, and he believes that the credible Bigfoot hair that he's collected has little to no medulla. My hair matches that we collected, little to no medulla. And that's the challenge of getting DNA out of it. You destroy the hair to get at it. If this professor is correct in the assumption that it has little to no medulla, that means it's very hard to extract DNA because that's where the protein is that you're going to get the DNA. I was thinking, 100 strands, you guys can destroy half of it and have your DNA. Another person that I sent it to, and I didn't force this hair on these people. I told them, hey, we had it checked out at Weber State and can't figure out what it is. I gave him the video of us collecting it and casting the track next to the hair. Dr. Sykes and others send it to us. And I sent this hair. Dr. Sykes was asking people for hair for his testing of his project. At the end of his project, it's a bear. Well, why didn't he test my hair? Why didn't he give me results of my hair? Did it not fit into his narrative?
Well, there's
why
a certain
wasn't this tested?
professor here in North America that sent him hair samples that were collected by Rob Kreider, and he never included them in his sample study. And then Kreider tracked down what happened to the hairs, and they were sent to the University of Lausanne in Switzerland, where they were never tested, and they're still being kept as controls. And Sykes also said a bunch of other malarkey that has since been completely disproven. So his track record is he's shit, and what he has to say isn't worth a damn. This other professor that you're talking about has an equally bad track record, but we're not going to mention his name right now.
Dr. Sykes and all of them, I know they all got the hair because I sent the hair where I had to have signatures. Otherwise, it would come back to me. So it arrived at all these universities and everything. So they all got it. The guy that I cornered at a Bigfoot conference in Pocatello and started drilling him about the hair, he admitted right then and there that he got the hair and he had examined it under a microscope because he said it had little to no medulla, which I already knew through Brody's investigations in his biology class. Little to no medulla, which he thinks is consistent with Bigfoot hair.
Well, and he's right about that, because I talked to Dr. Melba Ketchum, who's doing the Bigfoot DNA study, and that's the same thing she says. Hair samples are difficult to get any DNA out of because inevitably they don't have medulla in them for them to extract anything from. So they've gotten a lot more mileage out of actual physical tissue samples that they've gotten from field researchers that were out collecting them.
And I've given away over 300 strands of this hair that could potentially be Bigfoot hair. And since then, I have had television shows and other laboratories get a hold of me and say, send us some. And I'm like, no, I've given away over 300 strands of this hair. You reach out to these other laboratories and see if they will give up some of my hair that I gave to them to you. No more of this is leaving my hands. This giant sample that I still have. And I also have another 100 strands that's never been touched by human hands. It's going to stay in my custody till the men in black come take it.
Well, they don't deserve it, so no, can't have it.
I've sent it to the pros. They don't know what it is, and if they do know what it is, they're not willing to say.
So anyway, getting back to the year in review, which is really what we're here to talk about, and one of the things I've enjoyed about this year is that I've been talking to you more on the phone. And whenever Kelly's in a situation where he has to run out and do a hot sighting report and he can't get any of the rest of the team with him, he calls me on the phone to keep him company while he's doing these long, dangerous drives through the snowy mountains and stuff. And it's really fun for me because I love his sighting reports anyway. But this way I get to hear the sighting report before he even puts it out because I'm there with him on the phone while he's driving around doing this stuff.
Until I lose reception.
Until he loses reception, which inevitably happens. All these places are always in some place where you can't get phone reception.
Getting those slot canyons. Yeah.
I'm going into this slot canyon.
Or sometimes I call you when I'm coming out of one of those situations.
So that's been fun for me. And, as Kelly pointed out last year when he was on the show, and, I think probably there isn't a Bigfoot researcher in North America that puts in more mileage going around, checking out sighting locations, doing reports in the actual location where these things happen, scoping it all out, plus having their own areas that they go to and stuff. So this guy really puts in the miles. He is Mr. Boots on the ground, running around anywhere in the Rocky Mountains, except my area. I got that covered. But anywhere else, he runs around and he covers it, man.
I was in your area this summer with you.
That's right. Yep. He finally stopped by to visit me when he was up here, and he doesn't come up to Montana that often, but I insisted this year that instead of going around to random places in Montana, just get a hold of me and I'll take you to where the Bigfoot are already.
I have spent a lot of time on the border, the Idaho-Montana border down south of you. Spent a lot of time there bouncing back and forth just barely across the border because that's a really hot area right there.
Well, I can see why you don't get up here that often because your whole area around you is all hot area. And then if you start coming north here, you run into Idaho first, and Idaho's packed with Sasquatch. So it's like you got to drive through Bigfoot area to get to this Bigfoot area and drive through this other Bigfoot area. And then you're over where Duke's Bigfoot area is.
I was looking at the map. You're almost directly north of me.
Yeah. The other thing it's interesting, I noticed that when I was talking to Caveman one time, we were looking at it on the map, and I'm like, well, damn, you're directly due south of me, dude. We're all lined up in a row here. I got the north, Kelly's got the middle, and Caveman's taking the south. We got it covered. But I really enjoy all the stuff that you were doing this year. Before we get to us up here in Montana this summer, what are some of your other favorite things that you got to go around, check out, investigate, catch on camera? What were your high points for 2023?
Seeing the Wolverine was definitely a high point, and then the Skinwalker Ranch events and stuff. Also, we found some really nice Bigfoot tracks on our Bolam, Colorado Bigfoot
Jenny
expedition.
and I are camping in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado because of all the Bigfoot sightings here. Plus, it's beautiful. Colorado's #1 in the Rockies for Bigfoot sighting reports. Not saying more Bigfoots live here than anywhere in the Rockies, but more are reported here. So people are reporting those sightings. I decided to set up some cameras and do a few time lapses, but I found some Bigfoot tracks nearby. I found a string of them, and they were, kind of suggestive, and I'm just like, I don't know, maybe it's an illusion. Then I found a really nice one that's 18 inches in long that I'm gonna come over and film for you guys. But I like to get some cameras rolling around me when I know I'm gonna be filming for a minute. I've got one right here. and I've got one probably 100 yards off that way. I found a really deep bear track impression. So I'm going to be able to show you guys the difference between bear and Bigfoot. this is an 18-inch long track that I found over here. It could have made this yesterday while it was raining, it was soft, or last night afterwards, but this thing is just huge. Let me get a better angle on it for you guys so my shadow's not going across it. You can see, and this is my monopod I'm using as a pointer stick, you can see where the toes come across all the way over here, and then it runs all the way back here, and you can see where it's still moist right here. It doesn't curve right there, it curves a little bit further back. I've got the tape set up where it's actually curving. It's a sunshiny day today, so the mud and water's starting to dry up, but the hill's touching the shadow of my monopod right there. This thing is just ginormous, 18 inches long. At the widest part right here where it starts getting up towards the toes, it's about 7 inches wide there, and where it starts to curve at the back towards the hill area, I measured that, and that was 6 inches. So this thing's just ginormous. 18-inch Bigfoot track, and I've looked at this thing closely, holding the camera close so you guys can look at it too. And I was finding other Bigfoot tracks off in the grass and stuff that way. They just weren't enough for me to make a big deal out of. But this one's a big dealio right there. I will take you guys off in the trees that way and show you where I found a giant bear track. And even if that giant bear was double stepping, it would not have been able to make this dimensions wide or long. We'll go take a look at it. Yeah, the bear track's over this way. And it's a big bear. One thing I've noticed is a lot of places, most of the places that you have Bigfoot sightings, the bears are there too. So they're after the same stuff. They share the same habitat. So it's not surprising to find bear track within 100 yards or so of Bigfoot tracks. And I've been finding a lot of strawberry vines up here. There were strawberries early in the season. Yeah, right here below me. There's a strawberry vine right there. See, I got another camera sat up over there. Okay, there's that bear track. Now this bear track, it's the rear of the bear, and it's 10 inches in length. And that's a damn good size for a black bear. And that's all that's supposed to be in the state of Colorado. However, I personally believe there are some grizzly bears here. But that's a bear track. Okay, if it was double stepping, if the rear is 10, the front will be 5 or 6. And double stepping perfectly from hill to toe, that would make it 15 to 16 inches long. It wouldn't make it 18. Width on that one is 6. Double stepping rear to front does not make the track wider, so you're not going to get the 7 or more inches width at the top. So I just showed you guys a Bigfoot. Now I'm showing you a bear. In the beautiful wilds of Colorado, the San Juan Mountains. Some of the craziest Bigfoot sighting reports have happened in these mountains. There's also a handful of videos where people think that they have videoed the creature up near some of the rivers and creeks here. Up near where we're camping in the San Juan Mountains, Jenny found some raspberries that are all ripe. Can you see that one right in there?
Ooh, they're pokey.
Check that out. We've already found evidence of Bigfoot and bear up here. We also found some huckleberries. But yeah, there's a ton of these up here. Ton.
No good.
Oh, there's fresh ones all over. Yeah, I had one and it's tasting nice. It's starting to get really cold at night up here, making all the berries sweet. And check out these ones. Just two of the varieties of berries just in this little area, and there's just big bushels of them everywhere. Yeah, when I'm up in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot like the San Juan Mountains, I want to know why the creature would be here. I'm sure there's 1,000 whys, and this is just two of them.
What an amazing place to search for Bigfoot, with the most Sasquatch sightings reported in all of the Rocky
We
Mountains.
spent a lot of time in the San Juan Mountains investigating some pretty aggressive Bigfoot sightings out there. One where a guy got slapped on the feet by a Bigfoot. This was like an evening encounter. He's laying on his cot with his feet hanging off the edge, and the Bigfoot come through his camp and slapped him on his feet, ran into the forest. So that's a pretty bold Bigfoot sighting. I'm like, well, that's where I need to go.
Yeah.
If the Bigfoot are that bold, I have this theory that if I chase the aggressive, bold ones, they're more likely to show themselves and get them on camera. And so, yeah, some of the scariest Bigfoot sightings that we hear about, man, boom, we're heading right into the area.
Yeah. I don't know if that'll work anymore because they all pretty much know who you are now. The word's been passed around. And when they see something that looks like Kelly Shaw, they're like, oh, crap, he's got a camera and he'll run toward us. Get out of here.
Yeah, I don't know what my problem is. Why I sometimes bolt in the direction of a wood knock or movement, or like the one that I saw in my rear view mirror. I dove out of the camera and chased after it. And when Jenny catches up to me, she's like, "You have no protection," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I guess I could whap it with my camera if it decided to wanted to mess up my face."
Yeah, the funny thing is there's like no way we can catch one. No way. It's no way. No way. They're so much faster than we are. It's hilarious.
Something that was really exciting that happened just recently in the Umatilla forest of Oregon, right along the Washington border, not too far from where famous Paul Freeman footage was filmed. This gal got into one of my groups and showed off a video that she shot in the area, her and her daughter. She's like, I think this might be a Bigfoot. What do you guys think? And so I interviewed her and took the footage and did a breakdown of it and stuff, working its way up the mountain there. And the place that it happened, the last Bigfoot sighting I did in the Blue Mountains, my base camp was just the next canyon over from where she filmed this one. I went back and forth to the Paul Freeman area several times on that one. So I probably passed up where this girl had her sighting and filmed it a half a dozen times. And now I'm planning on going back there because of that to investigate the area where she shot that footage and to revisit the Paul Freeman area again. Just an amazing area. I call it the Umatilla Bigfoot because that's the forest it was filmed in. Great footage. I'm going to do a breakdown of the footage. I'm going to get in closer, slow it down some more. And it looks to me like it gets a hold of a grouse and is holding it by its legs in one of its hands as it's working its way up the mountain. There's a point in the video where it looks like it snatches it, so she may have very well have captured it getting dinner, snatched it, and then it's holding it by its feet upside down, like
Yeah.
when someone grabs a chicken that they're getting ready to harvest.
Yeah.
That's what it was doing. And Duke and I both know this. You can get really close to a grouse. Sometimes you practically have to step on one before they take off. Both he and I have been bluff charged by a grouse. I had a male grouse come up and get in my face, and I could have just fallen down on him. And I was filming him, laughing my guts out that he was getting all bad in my face like that. So, if I'd been a Bigfoot, I'd had a mill. So it looks to me like that Bigfoot grabbed a grouse on his way up. A lot of people that watch the video, it's like, well, he seems a bit awkward and this and that, and you think that it would move a little bit better. And I'm like, I'm sorry that Bigfoot did not read your guys' stereotype book on where it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to be doing, and how it's supposed to be moving. But I think this Bigfoot was hunting. It saw or smelled the grouse and come up to it casually so it wouldn't take off. And like I said, you practically have to step on them. Sometimes they depend on their camouflage. And the Bigfoot snatched it, whap,
Yep.
had it in his hands, and then went to wherever it was at and probably had a mill.
Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. We received an interesting video of a strange dark-colored figure from the Blue Mountains of Oregon. This is near where the famous Paul Freeman Bigfoot video was filmed. Our team has been in the Blue Mountains in Washington and Oregon on several expeditions looking for the elusive creature, including the location Freeman filmed a Sasquatch. Later, the casts of the tracks were authenticated by a PhD as coming from a real animal or creature. Make sure you watch this video to the end. We will zoom in on the Bigfoot-like subject 150%, then 250%. We will also boost the light color to try and bring out more features of this amazing creature. We will also slow the video down to half speed. And then we will show off some Bigfoot tracks we filmed and photographed at the Paul Freeman Bigfoot location. Please make sure you subscribe and click that bell button to get notifications of the 3 new videos we post each week of sighting reports, photos and videos of the creature, along with investigations into Sasquatch sighting hotspots. I would like to start out by pointing out, through normal questioning and conversation with the witness, her and her daughter are in a remote location near a closed campground. You can see the closed gate when she does a panoramic view of the area with her iPhone 15. At the location the creature was filmed. There are no other cars around. Whatever is traversing at the top of the steep mountainside and rock formations did not drive to that location. Kelly sent us an interesting video and stated on our media site, saw what I thought was a person, but my daughter couldn't see, so I recorded and zoomed in to show her. I didn't record long because I didn't want to be a creep. Looked back at the video when I got home and realized how far away we really were. He was at the top of the mountain and I was on the road below. You wouldn't see a human from that far of a distance, so I zoomed in even more. RMSO asks, what did you think it was? Were you able to estimate its height or width? Kelly continues, I honestly thought it was a person at first, but something was just off. It was very big, as I'm actually far away from this hillside, but I could see it from where I was before I even started recording on my phone. To me, it looked very tall, long arms that swayed towards its rear when it walked. The way it freezes when it stops is weird. It's all black to me. The strides I feel are very big to be noticeable from that far. The atmosphere was very off-filling. I don't know how to describe it. I could feel it looking at us. Huge sense of being watched. The shoulders looked very wide. I see it looked wobbly at first, but it also looked like it was limping. Completely unsure. I don't know a lot of information about Bigfoot, so it made me highly curious what I encountered. I don't believe it was a person. They'd blend more into the hillside, or I wouldn't be able to see them at all. I think they'd look tiny, not as prominent as this was. I walked a small distance, looked back within 2 minutes, and it was completely gone. RMSO asks, how much longer did you watch the figure after you finished filming? And what is over there? Is it brush, grass, rocks? It seems to be traversing uneven terrain. Kelly responds, not much. I stopped recording, finished parking my car. We got out. I could still see it, but wasn't moving. We walked about maybe 2 car lengths, so in a matter of less than 2 minutes, Went to look again and it was completely gone. We both could not see it. The atmosphere felt off and I felt watched. So we got back in the car and drove back down towards the campgrounds. I haven't been on that side, but it's the same as the side I'm on. It's very uneven, very steep and rocky. I actually went back today and took a video from the road all the way around for a better idea of the environment. Let me know if this helps. The mountainside you see first is the one it was on. They're called the Blue Mountains. RMSO continues. Hi Kelly. That last video, was it filmed from a different camera or the same phone that you captured the interesting figure? How far away do you think the figure or creature was when you began to film it? Kelly writes, hey, it's the same, iPhone 15. RMSO replies, okay, right on. One of our team members has an iPhone 15. They have really nice cameras. Kelly continues, they do until it's fully zoomed in. RMSO states, something that really intrigues me. You are in a remote location near a closed campground. You do a panoramic video and no other cars. Whatever is in your video did not drive there. Kelly responds, nope, it was just me and my daughter there. When you see the closed gates, you can walk beside those and it goes into the river, and we like to walk there. That's where we originally were headed. Behind these initial mountains are just more and more mountains. Bottom of the mountain is the river. It's almost as if it was heading down or coming up from it. RMSO continues, we think you caught a sub-adult or a juvenile Sasquatch out in the open. Some of the frames in the video, its arms are too long to be human. It has different tones of color in the legs and hips, just like a gorilla or bear. That is not how suits are made, Kelly states. That's a great point. I wasn't sure if it could be slight color changes or sticks from the trees blurred in. That is so crazy. Does the atmosphere change when you're in the presence of one? I've gone to the mountains my whole life in Montana, and I've never felt that strange, almost heavy, being watched feeling before. RMSO asks. Yes, the feeling of being watched and sometimes a foreboding feeling can come over a person in the presence of Sasquatch. What was your feeling that day? Kelly responds. That's the perfect word for how it was. Everything was fine all day. I saw it from the bottom of the road when driving in initially. The black stuck out on that hillside. First thought was just another person, so I didn't pay attention to it. But it was still. So we went to park, but I needed to turn my car around, so I turned towards the mountain, like you can see in my car in the panoramic. And it felt huge, tall and wide. I knew it was looking at us, just a feeling. I tried pointing it to my daughter because she couldn't see through the trees. She's 9. So that's when I pulled my phone out and zoomed in. You can hear me telling her where to look on my phone.
See right there.
Oh,
Look where my thumb's pointing.
oh yeah.
See him?
What is that? It looks like it.
It's a human. He's just standing there watching.
So I used my thumb to show her on the screen. She said, what's that? What should have been my first clue, it was not the look of a human if she didn't know what it was. I said human and ended the recording. Finished flipping my car around. We got out to the walk to the river anyways. I could still see him there. Still like he was at the end of the clip. He walked maybe 2 car spaces, so maybe 2 minutes or less. Looked again and he was gone. The air felt beyond still, maybe thick, like we were being watched, and definitely foreboding. So we both got back in the car and left. RMSO states, in our experiences, there is rarely just one. There may have been another 1 or 2 down at the creek, or had already traversed up over the mountaintop. So you may have had more than one set of eyes on you that day. Kelly continues, maybe that's why it felt so heavy feeling. More than one. I'll be honest, I was never into Bigfoot. I didn't doubt they existed because I think we are fools to think there isn't something living in these massive mountains that we don't know about. But it's like the paranormal. Some believe and some think you're absolutely crazy. I absolutely believe paranormal because I've had many experiences my whole life. Bigfoot didn't spark my attention the way paranormal does, but my dad is very big into Bigfoot. So I know a few things, not a lot. Once I realized my video, and it was more beastly than human, and started thinking about how big it actually was, I sent it to him. He absolutely believes that it was not human, and that it's highly possible I just encountered one. So that's when I posted out to get other opinions, and it's almost like a definite feeling of I know what I saw that day, the feeling outside of my car, and it sparked a massive interest in me to start searching and learning more about them.
That looks Bigfooty right there. That's deep too. That is definitely longer than my footprint, but I think I'm going to get a tape on that and see the length and the width. I mean, we're so close to the Paul Freeman Bigfoot sighting location where he filmed it in Shoefly Creek. Looks like he stood right here for a little while. What, almost 18 inches long? I'm going to call him 17. There's the length on it. And then we already measured the other one. I don't know if you guys can see them both, but there's one there, one there. Like he stood there for a second. Or like Jenny says, maybe it was just before leap this mess. You know, he may have gotten his feet pretty close together to stop and look. Or to leap. But they're a little over 17 inches long. And this one, at the widest points, a little bit less than 8 inches wide. Across the toes, you're getting about 8 inches wide there. And then this one over here, this one, it looks like it flipped a rock. This one, and remember, it's not necessarily the shape of their foot, but the damage they did to the ground. And this, it looks like this rock used to be sitting right here at the edge of the foot, and him hitting the edge here flipped the rock back. Much nicer how he damaged the ground right here. I don't know. We're in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot area. These don't look like bear, they look more like older Bigfoot. And he may be heading off that direction.
It's all mossy through there.
Yeah, the soil isn't as nice for footprints as it is right here where we got a couple. But yeah, we're going to keep looking around the Paul Freeman Bigfoot sighting area. Many other Bigfoot sightings that have happened in this area. We're going to tell you a little bit
I do
about
believe
them.
it grabbed a grouse going up that mountainside. Some investigators showed up a day or two after my video come out, and after being there firsthand and seeing where she was at, seeing where she was filmed it, they believe it's the real deal.
Right on. Yeah, and as far as, this is as good a segue as any. I got video of of a grouse bluff charging me when I was with Kelly, or I think it was, maybe it was in the same place anyway. Yeah. But there was a grouse there, and she was moving along the ground, and all of a sudden she decided to bluff charge me. So I held my ground because, you don't want to run away. That'll encourage them to go after you. So I just stood there and held my ground. And as it turned out, I got in between her and her babies, which I realized when one of them ran across my foot to get to mama. So, yeah, the grouse are getting way more dangerous and aggressive. We're both getting bluff charged by them now.
It was a male that bluff charged me.
Yeah.
And he was like puffed up like a turkey, acting all bad and everything. And I it just cracked me up.
I had the mama running at me because, hey, you're almost stepping on my baby's dumb
protecting
human.
her
Stop it.
youngins.
Yeah, exactly. So that piece of video of me getting bluff charged by the grouse will be included in the end part of Inevitably Finding Bigfoot when that comes out, which will also include the little segment where the Sasquatch thought it was funny to drive a herd of cattle into our camp at night and then cause a stampede. When you're camping out there on top of a mountain, I mean, literally on the top, everything around you is going down. You don't expect there to be a cattle herd wandering into your camp in the middle of the night. And then shortly after that, there's a big tree snap and they all go, moo, and run away. They seemed completely fearless when it was just us in camp. But as soon as they heard that wood snap from over the other side of the hill, they all ran away for some reason. So that was pretty humorous. Yeah, so anyways, we've been mentioning here, Kelly actually showed up and went with me up to one of my not quite super hot spot, but pretty hot spot locations because it was nearby here. He didn't have a ton of time. And I figured I told him before we went up there, the only thing I can guarantee is we're probably going to find tracks. Anything beyond that, I don't know. We might hear vocals, might see something, but for sure we'll find tracks. We always find tracks when you go up here. So, but that came through. Woohoo. Right away when we got there, we started finding tracks. We found plenty of tracks. And then
Yeah,
we went down the
they
hill
were
and we found
giant craters of tracks,
19-inch crater tracks down the hill
Yeah.
where we would run down the hill and
sunk
then
in
come back
deep.
up. And then we went over to where the big clearing area is over on the edge of the mountain, started hiking around there. And Kelly heard some whoops, turned his camera on, pointed it in the direction the whoops were coming from, and created a ton more work for me. Because after he went back home and put the video out, everybody went, "Hey, I think you got some Bigfoot on that piece of video." But Kelly doesn't live anywhere near this area, so I had to drive up there to shoot comparison video for him. And the first time, I didn't get in the right spot, so I had to drive up there and shoot comparison video for him a second time. But I got it right the second time.
I call it the Eureka Bigfoots. And I like to name Bigfoot for what's in the area, the name of the forest, a river that's nearby, but there's a mountain peak that's nearby that's called Eureka, Yreka. So I named the Bigfoot Eureka.
And I was asking Kelly about that the other day because I don't know what the hell the mountain peak's name is over there. I'm not paying any attention to that. And I'm like, where'd you come up with this Yreka Bigfoot thing? And he goes, what's the name of the big mountain peak over there? I'm like, I don't know. I just live here. I don't know what they named the mountain.
Yeah, one of the time lapses I did while I was there, I believe the Eureka Peak in the time lapse.
There you go. There's the other screen capture from Kelly's video from Johnny got. There it is right there. So he's probably a little bit closer. And he was moving this way. Going down the hill. What's that noise over there?
It's RMSO with the side-by-side comparison of a section of video we captured after pointing the camera in the direction where several vocalizations came from. Duke and Johnny from World Bigfoot Radio were gracious enough to visit the location around the same time of day and during a similar overcast to film at the exact location so that we could use the footage for comparison. They did an amazing job finding and identifying the exact location. It actually took them 2 expeditions of investigations to nail down the exact spot. I decided to line up the main tree we both passed during the video and use it as a starting point. I had to stagger the frames to get the tree to line up. However, it is easy to see they are in the right location. I will play this footage forward, then reverse, then forward again, so that you can have a good look and can formulate your own opinion from the comfort of home. We will then show the long, amazing tracks in the trackway of deep Bigfoot track impressions that Duke, Jenny, and Kelly documented that day. We noticed it behind a log leaning against a host tree. It appears to take a look at us after the vocalization, then hides behind the host tree. Not saying these are Bigfoot tree peeking at us and vocalizing, however, we would like to show what we and other viewers have identified in the video. I would also like to zoom in and slow the footage down so everyone can take a better look. If it wasn't for the amazing Bigfoot trackways we found that day, and then the vocalizations, it prompted us to point the camera in the direction we would have just shrugged off this 220 frame section that lasted under 4 seconds. But because of everything found and heard at that point in time, here it is. After we play this footage, we will show off some of the better 19-inch tracks we found in 2 separate trackways. One trackway went down the mountain toward the creek, the other went up toward the mountain peak.
Just got vocalizations off that way. There it goes again. A bunch of hooping.
Whole track in so they can see.
Look, something went up the hillside right here. Jenny found these tracks about 8.5 inches wide right there. I don't think it used the entire foot here. Yeah, I think it was just using the front pad of the foot, which there's about 13 inches of it. I think the heel probably extended off the hillside here. Also stepped right there. It was heading up this embankment hillside.
Whatever it was nimble because
And usually a Bigfoot track at the widest point, the length of the track's usually about double. However, saying that, once they hit about 8 inches wide, 8.5 inches wide, they usually quit getting any wider. But that's something that would be 17 inches or longer. But yeah, whatever it was heavy as hell. That went up right there. This one's about 19 inches in length. And you can see where one of the toes really, it may have been the big toe on the right foot that really shoved in right here as it leaped. It brought the rest of this dirt down on its tracks when it leaped. Oh yeah, 8.5 inches wide, just like the one below. The one below was just like most of the front of the mid-tarsal, but this is the entire track. And it terminates about 6 inches is where it starts curving to the back. And you can see the heel come clear back to here. Yeah, this one's ginormous. This one, from the top of the big toe to where it terminates and curves around in the back, is about 18.5 to 19 inches in length. Yeah, I am seeing another track over here.
And like, it's not even a track, it's a crater.
Yeah, one of his toes is showing up really good on this side. And he sunk in deep. He sunk in about 2.5 inches in the rear. And I'm having a hard time coming up this. And he probably come up here gracefully compared to me. Do you guys find one up here that has around a 19-inch track?
Oh yeah.
Guesstimate this one's 18.5 to 19 inches in length by the couple of tracks I just looked at. More tracks that come up from here. See, down into this gully. And this road that we're on is closed off to traffic. You can't drive on this anymore. There's a service gate.
Oh my God.
it just looks like steps.
Yeah, it's come up and down this.
I think a lot of times.
It may be going down and getting some drink down in that creek
it looks
down
like
there.
a little creek or
Creek
something
down there.
Down there. And then he comes right back up here to the ridge.
Look, this looks like his foot actually going down. Okay, we showed you several of them going uphill, but this is it going downhill. Its toes have just driven in right here and done a ton of damage with all of its weight. Going downhill. Person kind of sidesteps going down, but it's got its toe pointed straight down, no problem. Where you or I would be sidestepping down this to avoid breaking our neck. That is deep, deep. He sunk in a good 6 inches.
Well, I'll guarantee one thing, whatever's making these tracks, it ain't a cow.
No.
Check out that. This is it coming down. It is 18 inches up to the toe section. And the toes come up here. And it coming downhill, you would think that it would put all of its weight in the front. But probably keeping its balance, it put most of the weight in the back, giving us a really nice hill area.
Crushed the ground down about a foot, you know.
Yeah.
The hill is about 5 inches wide where it starts to curve to the back. And up at the toe area, 8 inches. And this one looks like it's got the crazy toe off to one side. And it sunk in on the downhill side 4 inches, uphill side about 6 inches. So now we got evidence of it going uphill and downhill.
You got another one right there. You got another one right there. You got another one right there, and that's where it stepped down off the embankment.
Yeah, people, it's a trackway. It's not just a one-hopping legged Sasquatch. In my experience, Bigfoot does not like to leave tracks. Once you find a good one, it leads to more, and we probably just saw a couple dozen tracks there, but 5 or 6 of them were the fully defined, where you got both sides of the feet, the heel and the toes. But when they're going uphill, they sometimes just use the front of the mid-tarsal, so you're only getting 3/4, half of a footprint.
Yep. We seen them doing that a lot on really steep hillsides where they'll take their foot and they'll cram it in like a piton. And this much of their foot actually goes into the hillside, and that's what they're putting all their weight on. So you never see the back of the foot.
I've seen that in Washington.
And always remember, don't flip off the mountain giant, don't poke Dogman with a stick, don't punt the puckwudgies, and for God's sakes, whatever you do not hug the Wookiees.
That is some Bigfooting advice from Duke on World Bigfoot TV.